Zack Snyder's expertise in adapting comic books to film is well established. Following the success of 300, Snyder takes on the challenge of bringing Alan Moore and David Gibbons' DC Comics limited series Watchmen to the screen. Set in an alternate 1985 America where costumed superheroes are a part of everyday life, the story kicks off with the murder of a former hero, prompting the masked vigilante Rorschach to investigate. Rorschach uncovers a plot to kill and discredit all past and present heroes, leading him to reconnect with his retired colleagues. Through this investigation, Rorschach uncovers a vast conspiracy tied to their shared history, with dire consequences for the world's future. True to Snyder's style, the film features a gritty and visually captivating narrative that is intricate and thought-provoking, offering more than the typical superhero action film. With a runtime of 163 minutes, Watchmen explores the concept of real heroes, complete with flawed personalities and moral ambiguity. In this review, we'll examine the strengths and weaknesses of this 2009 action hero blockbuster. But before we get to the review, if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Also, hitting the notification bell will alert you when we drop new content. If you've already seen the movie and don't need a recap of the events, feel free to skip ahead to the film commentary section of this review. Now, let's get critical. In 1985 Manhattan, amidst escalating Cold War tensions and President Nixon's extended term, a man is brutally attacked and thrown from his apartment. This event is juxtaposed with a montage of costumed vigilantes from 1939 to 1977, culminating in public backlash and the passing of an anti-vigilante law. Rorschach, an outlaw vigilante, discovers that the victim is Edward Blake, also known as the Comedian, a government-affiliated hero. Suspecting a threat to other former vigilantes, Rorschach warns his old comrades, including Dan Dreiberg and Adrian Veidt, while also trying to alert Dr. Manhattan, a superpowered physicist who dismisses his concerns. At Blake's funeral, Dr. Manhattan, Veidt, and Dreiberg reflect on Blake's disillusionment with their mission of global peace. Rorschach follows a lead to former supervillain Edgar Jacobi, who describes Blake's bizarre intrusion into his apartment prior to his sudden death. During a press conference, an investigative journalist accuses Dr. Manhattan of causing cancer in those close to him, prompting Manhattan to exile himself to Mars. As he contemplates his existence, geopolitical tensions rise, with President Nixon preparing for war due to the Warsaw Pact's aggression in Manhattan's absence. Veidt narrowly survives an assassination attempt, bolstering Rorschach's theory of a plot against former vigilantes. Dreiberg and Lord Jupiter, a former vigilante, rekindle their past and rescue Rorschach from prison after he's framed for Jacobi's murder. Dr. Manhattan transports Jupiter to Mars, where she convinces him of humanity's worth by revealing her lineage as the comedian's daughter. Meanwhile, Dreiberg and Rorschach's investigation leads them to Veidt's Antarctic lair, where he confesses to orchestrating the various plots, including Blake's murder, to unite the world against a common enemy by triggering catastrophic explosions attributed to Manhattan's energy reactors. This plan averts nuclear war by creating global peace through shared tragedy and a global alliance against Dr. Manhattan. The Watchmen initially opposed Veidt, but ultimately agreed to keep his secret, except for Rorschach, who is killed by Manhattan to preserve peace. Manhattan departs Earth for another galaxy, while Dreiberg condemns Veidt's moral compromise, and Jupiter reconciles with her mother. In the final scene, a disillusioned tabloid editor, with no war to report, decides to publish Rorschach's journal, potentially exposing the truth. Watchmen boasts dramatic shots reminiscent of comic book framing and features action sequences with impressive choreography, complete with Snyder's signature slow motion. Films centered around niche fandoms often struggle with balancing the amount of information and exposition they provide. Too little alienates core fans, while too much overwhelms general audiences. Snyder attempts to strike a balance, providing enough story and plot to address the film's gaps. The only true superhero in the film, Dr. Manhattan, is given a somewhat detailed backstory, but the other heroes' origins and abilities are left for the audience to infer. This can make the lengthy runtime feel daunting as viewers navigate the murder mystery with minimal context. A strong aspect of the movie is its characters, who are unique despite being weighed down by the heavy themes they represent. The film's characters delve into various facets of what it means to be a superhero, questioning morality and the repercussions of one's actions. The comedian, though killed early in the movie, remains a pivotal character. Created by writer Alan Moore and artist Dave Gibbons, the comedian is a counterpart or equivalent to a Charlton Comics character, the Peacemaker, infused with elements of Nick Fury and Captain America's patriotic hero type. Rorschach explains that Blake's moniker, the comedian, reflects his cynical and arguably selfish worldview that in a mad world, one can only laugh, treating everything as a joke. Moore drew inspiration for the name from Graham Greene's novel, The Comedians. Jackie Earle Haley's performance of Walter Kovacs, aka Rorschach, stands out. Familiar with the comic from his youth, Haley captures Rorschach's extreme right-wing, morally absolute perspective, which alienates him from society and other superheroes. Rorschach's worldview is rigidly black and white, with no room for compromise except for his respect for the comedian. He despises behavior he deems immoral and derides more lenient heroes as soft. Unlike most characters in Watchmen, Rorschach has no superpowers. His strength lies in his indomitable will, peak physical condition, and exceptional detective skills despite his mental instability. The film's sprawling narrative, anchored by the comedian's death, is one of its major drawbacks. Beyond the threat of global nuclear annihilation, the story raises more questions than it answers. Unresolved plot threads and a bloated runtime prevent the film from coherently conveying much of its complex world and characters. Overall, Watchmen offers a visually striking and thought-provoking take on superheroes with a focus on their flaws and moral ambiguities. While it has its strengths, such as strong performances from Patrick Wilson, Malin Okerman, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and unique character exploration, its convoluted plot and excessive length may challenge viewers' engagement and understanding. Ultimately, I enjoyed Watchmen as a refreshing departure from the typical superhero narrative. However, I can understand some of the issues fans had with the film, particularly Zack Snyder's changes, such as altering the climax. In the comic, the deterrent is a staged alien invasion, whereas the film attributes it to Dr. Manhattan's explosions, bringing about peace between nations. The film selectively glorifies certain parts of the source material, especially the gruesome ones, which led to a sense of desensitization and a lack of context. Despite this, I appreciated the portrayal of the characters as damaged and degenerate, adding a rare edge to the film. Watchmen attempts to explore themes of paranoia, insanity, rape, and the pressures of global nuclear war. It's important to remember that any adaptation should be seen as supplemental to the original source material and not a replacement. With that said, I give Watchmen a critical rating of B.